Seetajine Tole Aavo Mara Ram Tame Seetajine Tole Aavo Dayana Sagare Tene Krupare Nidhan Tene Chone Bhagavan Kevaravo Panaram Tame Seetajine Tole Aavo Mara Ram Tame Seetajine Tole Aavo Mara Ram Tame Seetajine Tole Aavo.
When people close their eyes and listen to my music, I think they are immediately brought to this sense of tradition, this sense of cultural and spiritual connection with the Lord, because a lot of the music I'm singing is devotional. However, when they open their eyes and they look at me, there's a sense of dissonance. All of a sudden they go, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And I like to use music as almost a voice where I normally wouldn't be given that voice. I always say that I had two families. One was my nuclear family, but the second one was my temple. And they raised me. They really brought me up in that community because I was always there. So much to the point where I feel like I constantly have to have more to give back to that community. That community was responsible for so many of the skills that I've mastered today. Basically, after I sang and I was with your dad in the basement, this auntie came up to both me and your dad and was like, oh, how do you two know each other? And like, your dad's a boss. He was just like, oh, that's my son-in-law. He's married to Parimal. Straight up. Like,
your dad is a boss.
Straight up. And this was just after I had performed. And then she looks at me and she was just like this pause. And like, it was like this really awkward silence, you know, like the awkwardness that you get, you know. She looks at me up and down and then she goes, oh, but you sing really nice though. And then she walks away. It's like one of those like compliment slaps.
I don't know. For me, it's really hard because like temple has been a huge place of refuge and support. Without the temple, like our family may not have survived. You know when Masi said that she's worried about you? And I think it's because she's always known that you
I think she's always known. You know, when I was a kid, she would dress me up in her sari.
I know.
She would take a little bit off of her own sari and I would get so excited. It was like the funniest game for me. I only started wearing jewelry quite recently, and something in me just sparked. It was almost as if I was putting on a new skin that I had never put before and felt before. And it felt so new, but also so much like a part of me at the same time. Indians have to live multiple lives. You know, you have your family life, you have your friends' life, you have your career life, you have your the side of you that you need to present to your in-laws, for example. You have the side of you that you need to go to temple and you need to act a certain way. And already we're taught to divide our personality up in so many different ways. But on top of that, if you add being gay.
Hasheel, you gotta act like a monkey.
I know I'm doing a fashion show.
No, you gotta act like a monkey.
Yes, a fashion show. Act like
What fashion show?
I want to do a fashion show.
Okay, do it then.
I'm too sexy for my shirt.
Oh my god, I was so cute when I was a kid, but so gay.
But you were also like very musical. Like you like danced like a wild human.
And I think my dad picked up on that
Yeah.
because he's a musician. I come from a whole family of musicians. And then essentially when I was 13, he realized, okay, like I've taught you everything that I know and you're still learning. So that's when I started taking like classical lessons. I always thought that I wanted to get into science and become a doctor. But before all of that, I decided I wanted to take a year off and study music full-time in India. I left for India with my mom. She came with me just to get me settled in. I was only 18 and we met different teachers. We met my Guruji, Hari Prasad Chaurasia, who is a legend in India and all over the world. He's like the Ravi Shankar of flute. The classes were insane. It was all based on ear. Essentially, Guruji plays something and then you have to repeat it immediately. And sometimes, like, and it's all in time. So he'll play like 2 bars and then you play the 2 bars repeated. 2 bars, 2 bars, 2 bars. And it's, you know, sometimes in that 2 bars, he'll play like 50 notes. Up to 50 notes. It's crazy. And you have to just like figure out what they're playing, how to play it, and then play it back immediately and perfectly. And that was how class was. It was just, there was very little talking. It was just this back and forth based on music. And it was really beautiful. I did it for almost a whole year and it was amazing. I would say my career turned professional when I came back from India. I think it was a challenge to be given this spotlight because of my art, but also have this expectation that I'm somehow gonna get married and live this heteronormative lifestyle. I think both of them came hand in hand. No one expected me to be gay. It was a struggle because here I was with so much public presence, but not able to talk about my true feelings with anyone. The term outcast wasn't really around in ancient India. Queer and trans people were a very integral part of society. In ancient times, you would see queer depictions carved into the walls. When the British rule happened, and a lot of their values were sort of imposed on us, that's where we see a big divide in Indian society today, where now there's this sense of outcast, there's a sense of other. Being a queer Hindu almost forces you to go really back into the past at a time where people were accepted, but not just that, at a time where spirituality was a lot deeper. It was a lot deeper than just, you know, who you were married to and what caste you were from. I also think that being a queer Hindu man gives me a bigger challenge to really be more in touch with my roots. I have to almost fight to be part of the community. I have to fight to be part of my traditions.
That was one of the things that really felt connecting to Hasheel for me, because that was the first moment where I was like, oh my God, there's another gay Gujarati that doesn't have to feel isolated in white culture or brown culture, but somehow we can figure out a way to like navigate both.
There's one thing about being infatuated and, you know, finding someone who has a really good sense of humor and someone that you're attracted to and all of those things that we believe are, outer shell qualities. Someone's truest nature really does come from the way they were raised and the way the values that they were brought up with and their whole family history. However, when they look at me as a queer artist, there's a sense of dissonance. All of a sudden they go, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And I think I like to play on that a little bit in order to push the conversation forward. All of us have both Shiv and Shakti. All of us have both male and female energy. And to recognize that is something that takes a lot of courage. To recognize that, yes, there is feminine energy and male energy within us. And to express that is the ultimate form of power. It's the ultimate form of courage. And it's the ultimate form of true love.
पाली है उमरिया पाली है उमरिया पाली है उमरिया पाली है उमरिया पाली है मोरी उमरिया रे मोहे मारे नजरिया सबरिया रे पेनी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रे रंगे सारी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रे रंगे सारी रंगे सारी रंगे
There's just this general level of silence that happens. Like, no one talks about queer issues, no one talks about women's rights, and no one talks about mental health. There's almost a certain level of power that comes from being able to perform for an audience of people that are the same people that in a way suppress queer people and suppress female musicians. But the second you get in front of the microphone and you start performing and you entertain these people, their opinion of you all of a sudden changes. There's a certain level of respect that comes to classical musicians that doesn't necessarily come to a lot of people. So I find it's a great tool to use music as almost a voice where I normally wouldn't be given that voice. Many of the men in our society don't understand the female perspective because we're not talking, we're not openly communicating. And so a project like this for me is to almost break those barriers, almost provide this sense of dissonance. So as soon as I started this performance, I immediately felt like I needed to represent the divine feminism, this divine energy that exists really in everyone. So we have Ramona, and it's really amazing to see this badass woman wearing a sari and playing tabla and just like going crazy on her instrument. We have Devi on vocals. Devi has told me she gets so much slack for being West Indian. Some people doubt the fact that she can pronounce the words or understand the words that she's singing. But Devi actually sings in more languages than anyone I know. So you can see it in the power of her voice. That story comes out every time she sings, and it's one of overcoming a big hurdle. Harini to me is just a powerhouse woman. She has such a beautiful and caring energy, but also such a loud, out there, in your face kind of energy. Harini has told me that she gets a lot of criticism for the color of her skin. This is from Indians that are saying that she'll never make it big as a musician because her skin is too dark. And to hear that story, but then also to hear her play, to hear her violin cry, you can almost hear that in her notes. So this performance for me really embodies all of my sides. And when I'm on stage with those musicians and playing with them, I feel truly like the truest version of myself.
लागा चुनरी में दाग छुपाऊं कैसे, लागा चुनरी में दाग, चुनरी में दाग छुपाऊं कैसे, घर जाऊं कैसे, लागा चुनरी में दाग छुपाऊं कैसे, लागा चुनरी में दाग। गई मैली मोरी चुनरिया, कोरे बदन सी कोरी चुनरिया, हो गई मैली मोरी चुनरिया, कोरे बदन सी कोरी चुनरिया, जाके बाबुल से नजर मिलाऊं कैसे, घर जाऊं कैसे, लागा चुनरी में दाग छुपाऊं कैसे, लागा चुनरी में दाग। गई सब बचन बिदा के, खो गई मैं ससुराल में आके, भूल गई सब बचन बिदा के, खो गई मैं ससुराल में आके, जाके बाबुल से नजर मिलाऊं कैसे, घर जाऊं कैसे, लागा चुनरी में दाग छुपाऊं कैसे, लागा चुनरी में दाग। कोरी चुनरिया हाथ माँ मोरी मैल है माया जाल, कोरी चुनरिया हाथ माँ मोरी मैल है माया जाल, ओ दुनिया मोरे बाबुल का घर, ये दुनिया ससुराल, आ जाके बाबुल से नजर मिलाऊं कैसे, घर जाऊं कैसे, लागा चुनरी में दाग छुपाऊं कैसे, लागा चुनरी में दाग छुपाऊं कैसे, लागा चुनरी में दाग। dim tanan dide tanum tan dere nadim tanan dide ta nom ta dere nadim tanan dide ta nom ta dere nadim na dere dere tan dere tan tun ta dare dare dani dim tanan dide 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 dani 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 dim tanan dide tanum tan dere nadim tanan dide ta nom ta dere na Surana teen grama bansi baja Eza zani zani ni dani da papa mama ga Mada ga mama gare sa Dhada ke da taran dharata paga parat nahi paran Jan jana ke jana Nadar dim tanum nana nana tana tana nadim tana dide tanum tana dare nadim tana dide ta nom ta dare nadim tana dide ta de de tum de de dim ta na 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 dim ta na 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 dim ta na 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 de de tom ta na 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 de tom ta na 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 de tom ta na 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 de tom na de tum de na de tum de tom 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 dhagatri tum takrandha dhagatri tum takrandha dim tanana de tanom tana dare na dim tanana de ta nom ta dare na dim tanana de ta nom ta dare na dim na dare dare tana tu na ta dare dare dani dim tanana de dani dhani dhani dim tanana de tanom tana dare na dim tanana de ta de ta de ta
That was fun.
That was so much fun. I love that. That was actually fun.
Hasheel actually asked me like a month ago for this concert, and I was super excited because he was talking about how like we have to overcome so many obstacles in order to perform music. So whether that be being part of the LGBTQ community, colorism, sexism, being women playing instruments, being dark-skinned playing instruments, especially in the like Indian community, it's super difficult. And then he just brought this idea and having all these like beautiful ladies here, having Hasheel with us, just bringing light to this entire project, and I was super excited about it, and I'm super happy I'm here.
Well, what's nice about you going to India for our wedding was getting the invitations blessed by our swamis and our gurus.
We're meeting Swami Paramatma Nandana.
But now there will be resistance, because they are used to certain thinking.
He's going to receive the invitation, and then the next day we're going to meet Puja Shri Murari Bapu.
વર્ષા ઋતુ જેને ન ગમે એના મગજની તપાસ કરાવવી.
Murari Bapu is a saint that travels around the world, and his following is in the tens of millions. Tens of millions. So it's amazing that he's going to meet with us, and we're going to have him actually sign the wedding card.
I don't think it would be possible without the privilege that Hasheel's family has. But the fact that he's willing to meet you and talk to you and look at the picture of two gay guys getting married and bless it, that's like a whole thing. Like that. I'm probably not describing how monumental it really is, but it truly is. His politics about truly accepting all people as they are. However, he's deeply Hindu, and he is deeply like nationalistic, and that is also terrifying in certain ways. He wields a lot of power and he has a huge reach in his community. It's okay to be hijras in India, but I don't know that he would support gay people, because trans history is written into our spiritual history. There's like the gods, the demigods, which are the Kinnars, and humans. So the Kinnars kind of like have always been revered as like above sort of humans, but not quite to like deity level. And they're always invited to happy celebrations, like when children are born, when there's weddings, they always come to bless the families. You have to give them money. That's how they make a living in India. That and sex work, unfortunately.
હરયે નમઃ હરયે નમઃ.
I often listen to Murari Bapu's Gatha, and his Gatha has given me lots of peace and a deep sense of grounding, but then to also know that it might not be okay for me to be who I am.
It's less complex for me because my parents have been following him since I was born for a long time. All of us have a tattoo on our arm, myself included, of Ram that he himself wrote.
That is your family, like the Murari Bapu family, you know, so to have Hasheel's mom and Hasheel go there and be like, here's our gay son, and here's their like engagement announcement, here's their like weird gay save the date with like giant nose rings and necklaces, please sign it, you know. Like like it's very weird, like the whole thing is weird. I love it. I'm eating it up, like every moment of it.
Right. I'm full steam ahead. We're here, we're queer, we're gonna do it really big.
It's beautiful.